Now, I know that I have a tendency to get a little over dramatic or over the top here on the Locked On Kings podcast, but I genuinely think I'm not really exaggerating that much when I tell you that the Sacramento Kings might not win another basketball game for weeks. They lose tonight to the Chicago Bulls 126-113, and the schedule's not getting any easier. We'll break it down right here on Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News. And I said on last night's podcast that was the best game in Oklahoma City. That was the best game and best effort, close to a complete game effort, that the Sacramento Kings have put together all year. The final 6 minutes, the Thunder flipped it into championship gear. The Sacramento Kings fell apart. The Thunder won that game as we would expect them to. But I said if the Kings could bottle up the way that those 41 minutes of really good basketball went, if they can use that and find a way to make that the norm, bring that into Chicago, they had a very, very good chance of winning. Well, a consistent theme for the Kings throughout this season has been close games. All of the first 4 games coming down to the wire. Well, the Kings broke that cycle tonight because the Chicago Bulls won by 13 points in this game, 126-113 the final score. And the second half, it really didn't feel that close at all, to be completely honest with you. I'm not trying to throw fuel into the fire or make a joke of it or be over dramatic for the sake of clickbaity titles and likes and things like that. I'm looking at this Kings schedule. I'm looking at how this team's playing. I'm looking at the absence of Keegan Murray, and hopefully Nate Clifford will be back soon, but still we're talking about a rookie. And I'm going, where are the Sacramento Kings winning their next game? They're going to have to surprise us. The Kings are not going to be favored in any game going forward until November 11th, I think, because that's the day that they take on the Atlanta Hawks in Sacramento. That's over 2 weeks. You got the Bucks and the Nuggets on the road on Saturday and Monday to wrap up this road trip. You're staring an 0-4 road trip right in the face. You will be lucky at this point to get one of these 4 games. And if you do, honestly, to some extent, I consider that a pretty significant accomplishment. Then you return home for a 5-game homestand, which features the Golden State Warriors, who are off to a tremendous start, the Oklahoma City Thunder again, who you played well, but they still beat you, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Denver Nuggets, again, who I would expect will beat the Sacramento Kings in Denver to end this road trip. And then there's that Hawks game at the end that the Kings will hopefully maybe be favored in. But the Hawks aren't no slouch either, right? With the defense that they have with guys like Dyson Daniels, Trae Young always being a factor with the threat that he is from three-point range, right? It's very believable that the Hawks will come into Sacramento, shoot 1,000,000,000% from three-point range, and beat the Kings in that game too. Oh, and then, by the way, they go out on the road again after that 5-game homestand against the Timberwolves, against the Spurs, against the Thunder again, against the Memphis Grizzlies, and against the Denver Nuggets again. I see people saying, the Kings might win 2 or 3 games in the month of November. It's hard to argue with them. I know that this team is built to be competitive now. It better be. It's the 3rd oldest team in the league in terms of, average age of the roster. But the decision for Scott Perry, the Kings might not want to tank. The Kings might not want to prioritize a high draft pick over trying to make it back to the postseason and selling tickets. They might not, but the decision might be made for them with how this team plays and how this team is playing by December. Like, I don't know. Like, I do believe this team can and will play better. I do believe that as they play more together and get healthier, hopefully, that they will figure each other out more and get more on the same page. We've seen flashes of that even in this Chicago Bulls game when things were going well. But that being said, right, you're still like, you're trying to learn each other and get everybody on the same page. And we're growing as a team. We're becoming friends. We're learning each other's tendencies on the court. Meanwhile, you're taking on established playoff teams in the West and in the East, a majority of your schedule over the next handful of weeks. We knew this start to the season was going to be difficult. That was before all the injuries that the Kings were dealing with. That was before losing to the Suns on opening night and losing to the Bulls tonight. Like, let's hope the Kings can steal one or two over these next few weeks, because if not, like, we're looking at the Kings being down there with the Washington Wizards, who are actually playing pretty decent ball right now, Charlotte Hornets, the Utah Jazz, the maybe Portland Trailblazers, now with all the Chauncey Billups stuff going on. Like, we're talking about a team that's going to be potentially in the cellar. Some of you might think, hey, that's good. That's what we want. That's great. Be entertaining and lose basketball games. That's great. I think Carmichael Dave is championing that here in Sacramento. Entertainment, I think is what he's calling it. Hey, if that's you, man, you're getting what you want. The Kings are being entertaining for at least flashes in games and losing. So I guess you're getting what you want in that sense, but man, like I look at this team and I judge this team based off of the internal expectations that I know exist, right? Because I have the privilege of being able to cover this team closely. I have the privilege of being able to talk to and hear from Doug Christie after games and during training camp. I have a privilege of being able to talk to Scott Perry, not just hear him in his press conferences, but have conversations with him both on and off the record. I know what the goals and expectations are for this season. And I know that is the measuring stick that the Sacramento Kings are holding themselves to. So even if fans aren't holding them to that same expectation, even if a lot of fans are going into the season going, I don't think anything's going to work, we'll just go along for the ride, I guess. Inside that building, inside that practice facility, inside that locker room, this is a team that expects to be playing in late April and potentially early May. That is their expectation. And they're not even close to living up to it. Not even close. And Doug Christie has talked so much about a full 48-minute, playing with a consistent effort. He talked a lot about it last night after the Kings played really, really well against the Oklahoma City Thunder and lost. And here you are, you get off to a slow start in this game. You're down 24-12 early. It's an ugly start. The Bulls have been playing really well. They're undefeated going into this game. Kings on the second night of a back-to-back. We'll talk about that excuse later. You go down 12 early, but you led by your bench, led by Malik Monk and Keon Ellis, but especially Malik Monk. You fight hard. The energy picks up. You get right back into the game. Domantas Sabonis had a fantastic first half, a good statement first half after how much he struggled in Oklahoma City the night before. Things are going well. The Kings are fighting. They're getting good looks. Shots are falling. And LaVine has a dunk at the 3-minute and 15-second mark of the second quarter. That puts the Kings up by 12, 60-48. So they turned a 12-point deficit into a 12-point lead. And it looks like they are going to cruise heading into halftime. A really, really solid half. The energy was great. All they have to do is close out the half. And we've heard Doug Christie talk about this. We've talked about this a lot on Locked On Kings recently. The Kings have struggled to close to start this season. But that's not just the fourth quarter. You also got to close quarters. You got to close halves. And the Sacramento Kings took their foot off the gas, let go of the rope, let the Bulls end the first half on a 14-4 run to cut that 12-point lead down to just 2. The Sacramento Kings shot 64% from the field in the first half and only led by 2 at the break. The Bulls got momentum. The Bulls were feeling themselves, had new life, and came out in the third quarter and absolutely beat the you-know-what out of the Kings. The Bulls scored 39 points in the third quarter. 26 of those 39 points were in the paint. They were getting anything they wanted, had the Kings completely lost in rotation. I don't know if Sacramento just lost focus mentally or what, but they were in the blender for the second half. From that point, this game was over. This game was over. In the fourth quarter, the Kings scored 22 points as a team. They're just going through the motions at that point. Their defense was affecting their offense. Their defense was abysmal, completely fell apart, and offensively it was just whatever. It's a very severe criticism to say a team gave up. And I don't want to go as far as saying the Sacramento Kings gave up in this second half. But they took their foot off the gas. They let go of the rope after doing nearly the exact same thing in Phoenix. You'd think they'd learn a little bit. The exact same thing happens in Chicago, and it just, the second half, there was, you talk about winning the fight or losing the fight. There was no fight in the second half. You got knocked to the ground, got the wind knocked out of you, and the Bulls just kept kicking you while you were down. The second night of a back-to-back excuse already does not apply to this team. I hate that excuse for any team in the NBA because everybody has to go through second night of a back-to-back. But there's an extra reason why with this Kings team, that excuse carries no weight. I'll tell you why in just a second. This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by Quo. One of the tools that helps make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly known as OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system that you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When every customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or computer, so no more carrying two phones or relying on a landline. Quo, formerly known as OpenPhone, lets your team share one number and collaborate on calls and texts like shared inboxes, so no customer gets left hanging. Their built-in AI agent is a game changer. It can answer after-hour calls, capture leads, and keep business moving even when you're off the clock. Whether you're a solo operator juggling everything or part of a larger team, Quo makes it easy to stay responsive and professional. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started free and get 20% off of your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedonnba. That's QUO.com/lockedonnba. And if you've got existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Locked On Kings is also brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, that's SAD, software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. Rippling is great because it removes all the bottlenecks and the busy work that slows teams down. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically and perfectly in sync. It's seriously simple to use and gives companies a source of truth for their people, data, and everything that they touch. Whether you want to run your entire HR, IT, and finance operations as one, or just fill in the gaps in your software stack, Rippling can do it all. And right now you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnba. Learn more at rippling.com/lockedonnba. That's rippling.com/lockedonnba for 6 months free. Every single team plays back-to-backs. I hate it as an excuse. There are validities to playing back-to-backs. Your legs are a little bit tired, right? And I'm not going to sit here on my comfy couch or on my high horse knowing that I would be exhausted playing one NBA game, let alone two in a 48-hour period, saying, well, just get over it. You're paid a lot of money to get over it. You're an athlete. I understand fatigue is a real thing. But it's just not a valid excuse for anybody. And here's another reason why. For this Sacramento Kings team in particular, the second night of a back-to-back, it shouldn't even be mentioned. It shouldn't even be brought up unless it's in this context. Throughout training camp, one of the things that we heard consistently in Kings training camp from Doug Christie and from the players was that the expectation was the way that the Kings want to play, they need to be the best or one of the best conditioned teams in the league. Their goal was to outwork their opponents, to be able to keep fighting late into games, to push the tempo, push the pace, play with physicality, play with effort, and be the team that doesn't tire out first. That's an identity trait of this team established from day one. So you best believe game 5 of the season on their first set of back-to-backs, I'm not going to use that as an excuse. It's different for this Kings team. They want to be conditioned. They want to play in a way that's very, very taxing. I get it. I know that's the identity you want to establish. So nobody, and I mean nobody in that locker room or in that coaching staff, I believe, and I haven't listened to the post-game comments yet, so maybe they did, and if they did, it's going to make my ears bleed. Hopefully nobody is talking about the second night of a back-to-back as an excuse. Absolutely nobody. And Kings fans, you shouldn't either. You shouldn't either. Even if there are validities to tired legs and things like that on the second night of a back-to-back. This team they intend to be able to handle that better than any other team in the league. Or at least that's what their goals are. That's who they want to be. So again, we don't get to use that, or we're not going to use that as an excuse the first time they get a second night of a back-to-back. Here's something I noticed from Scott Perry, Kings general manager Scott Perry this summer, is like I'm trying to identify, like, general managers have a type. They have certain qualities in a player that they like. For Monte McNair, like Monte McNair's type was older rookies. Like Monte McNair loved to go out and draft older, more NBA ready rookies. That was just a type of his, and guards. Scott Perry, I'm kind of guessing off of one off season that he's been here. I think Scott Perry, a type of player that Scott Perry likes, guys that play with a little bit of hostility. Guys that get a little mean, play with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, have that fire to them. That's why I think he and Doug Christie see eye to eye in so many ways of how they want this Kings team to play. And you go out and you get Dennis Schroeder, who's had a little bit of that fire to him. We'll talk about Dennis Schroeder later on in this podcast because things ain't going great for the Eurobasket MVP. Russell Westbrook speaks for himself. And I want to know, like, at what point are the Sacramento Kings going to get a little mean? Like, I can see they're frustrated. When that third quarter, the end of the first half, I could see they were frustrated. That third quarter, when everything was going to hell, you could see, after timeouts were called, going to commercial break, you could see the guys furious going into the huddle because they knew they were letting the game slip away. Like, DeMar DeRozan has talked a couple of times now since media day about how the narratives around this team, the expectations, what people are saying that this team isn't going to be any good, like that pisses him off, that ticks him off. We know it bothers you. So do something about it. Like, if Matas Buzelis is starting to go off in a game where the Chicago Bulls don't have Kobe White, and Kobe White is one of the stars of that team, but Kobe White specifically is a Sacramento Kings killer. Kobe White always cooks the Kings. So no Kobe White in this game. Other guys have to step up. So Matas is stepping up. He's hitting threes. He's making like little fancy moves into the paint. Josh Giddey's doing these spin move layups to get into the paint. Like, at what point is a Kings player going to hit somebody? And I'm not saying throw a punch or do anything dirty, but like, not to reference the only good time in Sacramento like we always do here, but do you remember that famous play in the Kings-Jazz playoff series when Chris Webber just laid a shoulder into John Stockton to send a message? Like, where is that on this team? Who is doing that? Domantas Sabonis. Domantas Sabonis gets beat up and hit in the face time and time again Like, that man gets abused around the basket. When is Domantas Sabonis going to do something about it? I've seen him complain to the referees. When is he going to shove somebody? When is he going to get in somebody's face? The dude got stomped in the chest by Draymond Green and apologized about it after the game because he didn't want to be a distraction to his teammates. I get these are good dudes. Domantas Sabonis is a good dude from what I understand. The Kings have always had a very likable locker room of really good guys that I've had the privilege of being able to get to know to some extent. But on the court, when is somebody going to get mean and go, we're getting our butts kicked? We're getting embarrassed. Enough's enough. You're not going to dance your way into the lane anymore. You're getting a hit. You're getting hit. You're going to feel it. Like, that is what Doug Christie, that's who he is. That's his message. When is someone on the Sacramento Kings going to do it? Like, I don't want it to be dirty. I don't want it to be a flagrant 2. I don't want anybody to get tossed or draw blood or injure anybody. But send a freaking message that you're not soft as Charmin and that the Bulls can't do whatever they want in the second half like they knew they could. The Bulls got all of their swagger back with how that first half ended, came out of the locker room and said, this is our game, we can do whatever we want, and did it for the other 24 minutes. Very little resistance from the Sacramento Kings, getting into the paint at will. When is somebody on this team going to do something about it? And I'm not talking about, hey, put in Dylan Cardwell. He's a big guy. He can shove him. No, I don't want it to come from a two-way guy who's sitting on the end of the bench. Russell Westbrook, Keon Ellis, Domantas Sabonis, Zach LaVine. You're playing against your former team, and you're getting embarrassed. DeMar DeRozan, same thing. When is somebody, Dennis Schroeder, you're playing terrible again. Like, when is somebody going to put a shoulder into someone and send a message? Say, we're not taking this anymore. We're not going to be pushed around anymore. You let the Chicago Bulls embarrass you. And I know the Bulls are undefeated. Good for them. Good for them. They deserve to be. They're playing really, really well. But you let them punk you. That ain't Doug Christie. I just want to know, like, when's somebody to do something about it? Because you have no problem talking to the media and saying, hey, we don't like the narratives about us, but the narratives are being proved right. You're 1-4, and it's going to get a lot worse by the looks of it. So do something about it. And the people standing in your way, go through them. Not around them, go through them. Still not seeing that enough from this Kings team. This is also brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. The Peloton IQ system is amazing. It offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form while making every rep safer and smarter. The swivel screen, it's an absolute game changer. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat, and the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level each week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. Couple more guys I want to talk about here. First off, I want to talk about Domantas Sabonis really quick. I defended him yesterday at the OKC game, thought he was getting a lot of unnecessary hate, still think he did after that game. Domas had a really good first half in this game. Second half wasn't good at all. I mean, the entire team wasn't good at all in the second half, but Domas was certainly part of that. He is having trouble for some reason holding onto the basketball, and I don't know why. He's turning the ball over way too much. I hear everybody saying, well, it's clear Domantas Sabonis is not 100%. He's dealing with that hamstring injury. He fought back, got back early. I think Domantas Sabonis is playing at like 75 or 80%. Like, I admire Sabonis as a warrior. I admire Sabonis as a team player, someone who will fight through injuries to get out there, to be on the floor, to battle through the pain, to be there when the Sacramento Kings need him. And trust me, the Sacramento Kings desperately, desperately need him. But if Sabonis is going to be a shell of himself and look lost and incapable of being the guy that the Kings need him to be on a nightly basis because of this hamstring injury that he maybe came back too early from, or he's not 100%, then dude, just sit. Like, it's not making a difference anyway. You're still losing basketball games. Just sit and get right. I mean, easy for me to say, true, and he's not going to. Like, he's going to keep fighting to get out there, and hopefully sooner or later he can get back to what we know he's capable of being. The Kings need to, or they are going to lose every game for the next few weeks. They are only going to win 2 games in the month of November, maybe. Like, they need to get Domantas Sabonis back to where he was as desperately as they need Keegan Murray just to come back and be healthy again. But, man, if this is the best Sabonis can give because of that hamstring injury, which hamstrings are not anything to be taken lightly, if this is the best he can do, then just sit. Especially on the second night of a back-to-back, just sit. You lose? Cool. You're losing anyway. I don't know. The Dennis Schroeder experiment, it ain't going well. It's only been 5 games. He's a point guard. It's the hardest position to play in the NBA. He's learning his new team. Excuse A, excuse B, excuse C, excuse D. They're all valid. And 5 games isn't a big enough sample size to judge anybody, but I ain't seeing it. 5 points, 2 of 9 from the field. Did have 7 assists, 2 steals. Like, did some good things in this game, especially in that first half. I thought he and Sabonis were doing a good job getting on the same page in that first half. But I'm not seeing him being an extension of Doug Christie like Doug and the Kings talked so much about in training camp. Like, Dennis Schroeder was talked about like, we finally have a point guard. Oh my God, we didn't have a point guard after the Fox trade last year. Now we finally have a point guard in Dennis Schroeder. This is the guy we wanted. We went out and got him. I'm not seeing it. Like, I'm seeing why he's bounced around from team to team. I've seen why teams have looked at him as a bench player, not a starting point guard. He doesn't look like it. I'm not ready to give up on the dude after just 5 games. But the problem when talking about this roster and talking about, like, in the future it could get better, it should get better. Like, you have one of the oldest rosters in the league. We're not talking about a roster of 21, 22, and 23-year-olds who are just trying to find their way in the NBA. The years of experience on this roster, in the starting lineup alone with Russell Westbrook starting, are insane. And this team still makes these boneheaded mistakes that you would expect young teams to make. And Dennis Schroeder has been a part of that. Look at the Chicago Bulls, man. Like, I want to give them some credit and give them some love. The Chicago Bulls are 4-0. The Bulls are also 2-0 against the Sacramento Kings since the Zach LaVine trade. They've outscored the Kings by a combined 25 points. They beat the Kings by 13 tonight and beat the Kings by 12 in Sacramento last season in the game that Kevin Huerter went crazy. Is it not obvious that the Bulls are in a better place now that they've moved on from Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan? No, that's not entirely fair, and that paints a very dark picture on LaVine and DeRozan specifically. But look, we've known that this is not the best pairing, that it's not easy to make work. Chicago wasn't able to make it work for years, and the Kings, in all their wisdom, just decided, okay, we'll just make it happen here in Sacramento in the West, I guess. I am able to look at Zach LaVine and separate the player from the contract. I've talked a lot about this on Locked On Kings over the last few months. Like, Zach LaVine, the player, really, really good. He's been the best part of this Kings season so far. He had scored 30 points again tonight. 3 out of the 4 games, he's scoring 30 plus. He's leading the Kings in scoring. He is the offense for Sacramento. That's exactly what I needed him to be. That's your role for this team. You are a pure 3-level scorer. You need to lead this team in scoring. He's doing it. He's also buying in and making more plays on the defensive end than I've ever seen him make before. There's a lot about Zach LaVine as a player that I like. And I'm able to separate Zach LaVine, the player, from Zach LaVine's contract. But look, just a reminder, the Sacramento Kings were literally the only team willing to take that contract that the Bulls desperately were trying to give away. Desperately. The Kings were the only team willing to take on that contract. And again, it doesn't have a poor reflection on who Zach LaVine is as a player. He got his bag. The Bulls gave it to him. That's their mistake. And now it's the Kings' mistake for trading for that contract. The player, awesome. If Zach LaVine made $35 million a year, we would love him here in Sacramento, period. We would. And we'd be saying, yeah, I'm cool with Zach LaVine for another 3 years at $35 million a year. We would be cool with that. Maybe some of you wouldn't because you want to full on blow it up, rebuild from the ground up. But for the most part, if Zach LaVine made $35 million instead of almost $50 million, we look at Zach LaVine a whole heck of a lot differently here in Sacramento. The player is good. The player is exciting. The Kings fans like the player. But it's hard to get over the contract, especially when the Sacramento Kings, Sacramento Kings ownership traded their franchise player in De'Aaron Fox to get that contract here in Sacramento. Why? Because we're infatuated with the player. Scott Perry's not blameless. I responded to a tweet on social media because people were getting mad at Scott Perry already for not addressing needs. And look, Scott Perry did not address a lot of needs on this roster that Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox failed to address for years. Scott didn't address it in one summer, so maybe I'm just willing to be a little more patient with Scott Perry. But Scott inherited like $155 million of his $189 million salary. And he spent this summer, he tried to make some moves, tried to play for Kuminga, tried to move Malik Monk, traded into the first round to bring in Nick Clifford. Like he made some move along the edges. Brought in like Dennis Schroeder, brought in Russell Westbrook, super glue and duct tape to try and stick this team together and make them as competitive as possible in the short term. But all of it points to one thing. You're just riding out this season and potentially next season too until you can clear up your salary books a little bit and really start to make some changes here in Sacramento. Game 5, or this was Game 5. Like we still got, 77 more to go? There's going to be highs. There's going to be fun times. For sure. There are going to be great moments. And hopefully the Kings surprise us with a win or 2 wins in Milwaukee and Denver to end this road trip and somehow come back 500 on this road trip. And then we can look forward to Kings versus Warriors, which is always a good time, usually. But like, I don't blame anybody. I'm trying to be as optimistic as I possibly can be about this team this season because I was miserable covering the Sacramento Kings last year from the moment Mike Brown was fired. Those of you who are with me then, watching this podcast then, you saw it. You saw the coverage. You saw how much it was just terrible. And I was right almost about everything, and it was not fun at all to be right. It sucked to be right. I don't want to be miserable watching this Kings team again. So I'm going to try and enjoy the moments when I can. I'm going to try and enjoy the crazy moments of Russell Westbrook or if Zach LaVine goes crazy or DeMar DeRozan's getting his shots up or whatever. But I don't blame anybody that's looking at this roster and going, we ain't going nowhere and we're not winning more than 3 or 4 games in November. It's kind of hard to argue with you. Now I want to hear from you. Your thoughts on this game, your thoughts on, I don't know, just where this Kings team is at. Hit me up on Twitter, @MattGeorgeSack. Email me, mattgeorgesports@gmail.com, and leave your thoughts in the YouTube comment section down below. Appreciate your support as always. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of Locked On Kings. Until then, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.